Well, then just recently, I came in touch with another testimony, and it's called 23 Minutes in Hell. It's written by Bill Weiss. He was a very conservative Christian, loved the Lord, conservative in his beliefs, was a businessman, a realtor, and he was visited by the Lord and taken into hell. And when he had this visitation, he said it was like when he was in hell, he couldn't even remember that he was a Christian. It was like he lived it. He lived out the experience as an unsaved person. And he believed that God wanted him to feel the terror of it. And he writes about the reality of it. It's chilling. Both him, Mary Catherine Baxter's, and Jonathan Edwards' words about hell, they can terrify you, but the reality of it is amazing. With Mary Catherine Baxter and Bill Weiss, they both said that the Lord had them and encounter this so that they could bring a warning and a message to the last days generation. I have a feeling that God is calling His church into alignment. He wants us to align with Him, with His purposes, and walk with Him 100%, so that we will be living in the glory, no fear of hell, but so that we will also have a compassion on those who don't know Him yet. And there will be such an urgency in our heart to go reach the lost, because they're dangling over this eternal pool of torment, and we wouldn't want anyone to go there. Do you know people right now that aren't saved? Well, maybe we just need to have a little bit more fear of the Lord. Maybe we need to understand more of what it's like to be in that place. I remember when I read Mary Catherine Baxter's book, I just wept. I said, God, I don't want anyone to go there. When I read Bill Weiss's book, I said, Lord, I don't want anyone to go to the place that he describes. And when I read Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, I just wanted to go out and preach everywhere. We've got some very enlightening things to share with you right after the break. We'll be right back.
I was a 38-year-old college professor, and I taught art, and I had taken a group of students and my wife, and we had gone around Europe, and we had just done a 3-week tour, and this was the next to the last day. And we were in Paris, and at 11 o'clock in the morning, I had a perforation of my stomach. When this happened, the pain was the most acute pain I'd ever experienced in my life, and it just dropped me right down to the ground. They took me about 8 miles across town to the public hospital, to the General Hospital of Paris, where I was taken into emergency, examined by 2 more doctors who knew exactly what was wrong with me, and then they took me away to the surgery hospital. Nurse came in and said that they were very sorry they weren't able to get a doctor for me, and they'd get one the next day. Well, when she said that, I knew that it was over for me. I knew that I was dead. The only thing that was keeping me alive was I didn't want to die. I was scared to death of dying, because as far as I knew, I was an atheist, non-believer, person who lived for the gratification they could get out of the moment, and you know, like, dying to me was like the worst. I mean, next to the pain, dying was the worst thing that could happen to you, because it's the end of life and there was no more, there wasn't anything else. But when she said that, the idea of trying to exist for another minute, another hour in this pain, it wasn't worth it anymore. So I said to my wife, it's time for us to say goodbye, because I'm going to die now. And she got up and she put her arms around me. I'm lying in the bed, and she told me how much she loved me, and I told her how much I loved her, and this makes me really sad to think about this. And I just closed my eyes, just let it go, and I went unconscious. I probably was unconscious for a very short while, a few minutes probably. And I was conscious again, and I looked, opened my eyes and looked, and I was standing up next to my bed. I felt more alive, more real than I've ever felt in my life. You know, people ask me, you know, were you a ghost? I was just the opposite, very alive. As I'm looking around the room, I see that there's, underneath the sheet on the bed, there's something under the sheet. You know, this can't be happening. It's impossible. I've got a hospital gown on, and it's like really, everything's really real. And I hear people calling me outside the room, and they're saying to me in soft, gentle voices,
Howard, Howard, come out here. Howard, come quickly. Come with us. Howard, we've been waiting for you. Waiting.
I left the room, which was real, clear, bright, and went into the hallway, which was dank and hazy, and followed these people. We had a very long journey. There's no time, and whenever I make a reference to time, it's just an illusion, because there was no time in this place. But this journey, if I were to recreate it, I'd have to walk like from Nashville to Louisville or something to recreate the walk with these people. And as we walked, they stayed around me and kept moving me on, and it kept getting darker and darker. They were becoming more and more openly hostile to me. First they were sort of syrupy sweet to get me to go with them, and then when I was going along with them, it was like, hurry up, keep moving, you know, shut up, stop asking questions, you know, they started getting more ugly. And so we get into complete darkness, and I'm absolutely terrified, because these people are very hostile, I don't know where I am. I said, I'm not going to go with you any further. They said, you're almost there. And we started to fight. I was trying to get away from them. They were pushing and pulling at me. And there are now a lot of them. What originally had been like a handful now was, since it was darkness, hundreds or thousands. I have no idea. And they're playing with me. You know, clearly they could have just destroyed me if they wanted to. They didn't want to destroy me. What they wanted to do was they wanted to inflict pain on me, because they derived, pleasure isn't the right word, but they derived satisfaction out of the pain that I experienced. So what they were doing in the beginning part was, it's real hard for me to talk about, and I'm not going to tell you much about it, just a little bit, because it gets, just gets too ugly. But initially they were like tearing and biting, tearing with their fingernails, scratching, gouging, ripping, and then biting. Trying to defend myself, trying to fight them off, trying to get away from them, but it's like being in a beehive. Just hundreds of them all over me. And I eventually was just laying on the ground there, all ripped up, pain everywhere, inside, outside. And even harder to bear than the physical pain was the emotional pain of what had just happened to me. The utter degradation that I just experienced. You know, I never once felt that it was unjust or wrong. I heard my voice. It wasn't somebody else's voice. It wasn't the voice of God or anything. It was my voice. And I heard it speak, but I didn't speak it. So whether it's the voice of my conscience or, I don't know what it was. It was just, but I distinctly heard my voice say, pray to God. And so in the back of my mind comes up an image of myself as a child, sitting in a Sunday school classroom, singing, Jesus loves me. I could hear in my mind, Jesus loves me, la la la, Jesus loves me, la la. And as I recalled myself singing it and heard I could hear myself as a child singing it. More important than anything else was that I could feel it in my heart that there was a time in my life when I was young and innocent, when I believed in something good, when I believed in something other than myself, when I believed in someone who was all